Welcome to Darkness in the Night. If you're listening to this story, turn off the lights, sit still, and take a deep breath. Because tonight, we return to a village wrapped in forest mist so thick you can't even see your fingertips. They say, just one wrong step there, and you might meet something that isn't human. That night, the fog covered the rooftops like a white blanket, crawling low across the ground. The insects were silent. Only the distant sound of cowbells echoed through the wind that hissed between the leaves. Hong, an 8-year-old girl, curled up inside an old wooden stilt house. Outside, a flickering oil lamp cast its pale glow across her grandmother's wrinkled face. "Sleep, child, don't look at the door," her grandmother rasped, her breath smelling faintly of wood smoke. "Grandma, someone's calling outside." "There's no one out there. It's just the wind, the forest wind." But Hong knew, it wasn't the wind. The voice was soft, wet, almost like a woman's, stretching out from within the mist. "Come here, Hong, come to me." The little girl trembled, burying herself deeper under the blanket. Her grandmother sighed, poured more oil into the lamp, and reached for the small machete beside the mat. The stilt house stood right on the edge of the forest. Below the stairs, every dog in the village began to howl in unison. The howls rose sharp and long, then suddenly stopped. Silence. The old woman pressed a hand to her chest and whispered, "Something's not right." Outside, the wind carried a foul, metallic scent, like blood mixed with damp soil. Hong heard the dragging shuffle of feet across the dirt. A figure stood motionless at the foot of the stairs. The oil lamp flickered, and the shadow swayed with the light. "Grandma, someone's out there. Stay still." Her voice was firm, but her hands trembled. The figure didn't move. After a while, it slowly raised its head. The light revealed a pale face, long soaked hair dripping onto the floor, and eyes, white, empty, staring straight into the house. Grandmother hurled the machete. It struck the floor with a sharp thud. The figure remained still for a moment, then vanished into the mist. She rushed to bolt the door. "Don't look, do you hear me?" "Grandma, who was that?" "Not human." The night dragged on. Hong shivered beneath the blanket, hearing only the pounding of her own heart. Then, from just outside the wall, came a woman's giggle, high, soft, circling the house. "Grandma, do you hear that?" "I do. Don't speak." The stilt house began to tremble slightly. The darkness grew heavy, suffocating. Then came the sound, bare feet stepping up the stairs. One step. Then another. Slow. Heavy. Creak, creak, creak. The old woman gripped the machete tight. The lamp's dim glow quivered across her lined face. The footsteps stopped at the door. A pale hand slipped through the wooden slats, scratching at the wood with a long, shrill creak. She screamed and flung the machete again. The metallic clang echoed. Then, silence, followed by crying. Not a child's, not an adult's. A broken, hollow sob, rising from the ground itself. Hong clung to her grandmother. The old woman held her close, trembling. Then she whispered, "If I call you later, don't come out, promise me." "Where are you going?" "I have to go. That thing won't leave us alone." She opened the door. The cold mist rushed in. Hong watched as her grandmother stepped down the stairs, her figure swallowed by fog. The footsteps faded, then stopped. A scream tore through the forest, her grandmother's scream, and was suddenly cut short. Hong bolted outside. The air reeked of blood. At the bottom of the stairs lay the machete, glinting faintly. Farther ahead, a trail of blood leading into the forest. And there, within the mist, stood the woman. Her long hair hung wet and heavy. Her eyes white and unblinking, staring back at Hong. Then she raised one trembling finger, pointed straight at the girl, and vanished. By morning, the villagers found the grandmother's body face down at the forest edge, cold and stiff, a dark bruise circling her neck. No footprints, no sign of struggle. Only mist, thick and endless, and the whispering wind all through the day. From that night on, Hong never spoke again. Every midnight, she would hear it. That same voice, soft and dripping. "Come to me, Hong, the forest is waiting." 12 years later, Hong had grown into a 20-year-old woman. Her face was gentle, but her eyes always carried a deep, quiet sadness. She lived alone in the same old stilt house, right by the forest where her grandmother had died. Everyone in the village pitied her, yet few dared to come close. They whispered that Hong had the spirit eyes, the kind that could see what others could not. In the morning, Hong carried her buckets to fetch water across the mist-soaked fields. The village children ran past, laughing and teasing. "Hey, Sister Hong, did you hear the forest crying last night?" "Forests don't cry." "They do. Old Man Thin said he heard a woman calling your name." The kids laughed and ran off. Hong stood still, staring toward the forest. The fog hung thick, and the ancient trees intertwined their branches like claws. She shivered slightly, then turned away. That evening, the village gathered for a memorial feast at the headman's house. The air buzzed with gongs, flutes, and chatter. People spoke in low voices about the recent disappearances. An old woman muttered, "I told you, the forest is hungry again. Every year the fog grows thick, it wants a soul." A man scoffed, "Don't start that nonsense. Lan was probably taken by traffickers. Ghosts? Come on. You haven't seen it then." Another woman cut in, "The night before she vanished. Her mother heard crying in the yard. There were wet footprints leading into her room." Silence fell. All eyes turned to Hong. She kept her head down, fingers tracing the rim of her teacup. The headman coughed, his voice low. "Enough talk. The forest's fierce this year. Don't provoke it." That night, Hong walked home late. The path through the woods was empty. The moonlight faint through the branches. Dry leaves crackled underfoot. Every so often, she thought she heard footsteps following. "Who's there?" No answer, only the wind. She walked faster, and so did the footsteps. Her heart pounded. She stopped and turned. Nothing. Then, from the mist, a soft voice drifted out, distant, trembling. "Come here, Hong." She stepped back, clutching her shawl tight. The voice was gentle as breath, yet cold as death. "Grandma, is that you?" The wind rose, swirling the fog into shapes. Within it, a faint silhouette appeared, a woman with long, dripping hair coiled around her neck. Her eyes were white and hollow. Hong's voice shook. "Grandma, you came back to me?" No reply. The figure tilted its head, then slowly raised one bony hand, its nails black, and pointed toward the forest. Moonlight revealed the gnarled fingers before the shape dissolved into smoke. Hong froze. Her heart raced, breath breaking. A cold gust swept through, tossing her hair wildly. She turned toward the forest's dark depths. There, she heard breathing. Heavy, wet, not human. "Where do you want me to go?" No answer, but inside her mind, a whisper echoed clear as day. In the forest, many are still waiting. Tears welled up, her sobs mixed with the wind, sounding like faint wails returning from the trees. "I'm scared, Grandma, I can't." The fog thickened suddenly, swallowing the road. Through the milky white veil, dark shapes drifted past. Bare feet pressed onto dry leaves. Then, a hand, cold as ice, touched her shoulder. "Grandma." No, it wasn't her. A pale face, lips purple, eyes wide and lifeless. It was Lan, her cousin who had gone missing days ago. "Lan." The corpse didn't answer. Its mouth moved soundlessly. Then its body swayed and melted back into the mist. At dawn, villagers found Hong collapsed at the forest's edge. When she awoke, her eyes were bloodshot, her body freezing cold. When they asked what happened, she whispered only one thing. "Lan, she's still in the forest." From that day on, she often talked to herself. And every night, when the fog rolled in, people could hear her voice carried by the wind. "Grandma, I saw them, but I couldn't save anyone. For 3 nights after seeing Lan's ghost, Hong couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the girl standing deep in the forest, waving, lips moving soundlessly as if begging for help. Moonlight spilled through the window, washing across Hong's pale face. She sat up, sweat soaking her shirt, ears still echoing with whispers from the fog. "Grandma, if you want me to go into the forest, give me a sign." Outside, the wind howled, the door creaked. Then, the oil lamp flickered out. The house fell into darkness. Through the silence, came slow, heavy footsteps climbing the stairs, stopping right outside her door. "Lan, is that you?" No answer, only soft sobbing, stifled and broken. Her hands trembled as she grabbed the machete from the wall and stepped forward. When she opened the door, a blast of freezing mist swept in. On the ground, a long trail of wet earth leading toward the forest. As if someone had just passed by. At dawn, Hong packed rice balls, her small flashlight, and the machete. She had made up her mind, she was going to find Lan. The villagers tried to stop her. "A girl like you shouldn't go alone. Aren't you afraid? There are all kinds of things in that forest, maybe not ghosts. But bad men." Hong gave a faint smile. "If I don't go, who will save her?" An old man murmured. "That forest's called the Nameless Woods. Few who enter ever return." Hong said nothing. She tightened the straps of her rubber sandals and walked straight in. The moment she stepped beneath the canopy, the fog thickened until the path disappeared. The air was damp and heavy with the stench of rotting leaves. No birds sang, only wind sighed through the rocks. She moved carefully, machete in hand, eyes scanning the shadows. "Lan, where are you?" Her voice echoed and was swallowed whole. Then, faintly, from somewhere deep ahead, a weak cry. "Hong, help me." Her heart skipped. She ran toward the sound. But the deeper she went, the denser the fog became. The path twisted like a serpent leading her down into the earth. Vines hung from branches like grasping arms. Each step crunched. She couldn't tell if it was dry leaves or bones. "Lan, stop playing with me." A gust of wind rushed through, carrying a giggle, half child, half woman. "Come here, over here." The voice came from everywhere at once, splintering, echoing inside her head. Then a shadow emerged from the mist. It was Lan. But her skin was bruised purple, her eyes wide and lifeless, her body smeared with mud. "Oh God, Lan. Sister Hong, why did you leave me?" The voice rasped, hollow as wind through dead leaves. Hong staggered back, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No, I didn't leave you." Lan stepped closer, her icy hand gripping Hong's wrist. "Stay with me, it's peaceful here." The grip tightened. Hong screamed, wrenching free, and ran for her life. Behind her, laughter erupted, a chorus of 100 voices. She tripped and fell into a shallow pit. Her flashlight shattered, flickering weakly across the dirt wall, revealing crude carvings of human figures. Bones, pale and scattered, lay half buried in the soil. And among them, a silver bracelet. Hong froze. It was Lan's bracelet. She knelt, hands trembling, and touched it. "Lan, I'm here now, please. Don't cry anymore." But from the darkness came the sound of sobbing, so close it seemed right behind her. She spun around. Nothing. Only a torn piece of cloth floated in the mist. It was soaked in dried blood, reeking of decay. Her eyes lifted to the dirt wall, where blood-red handprints trailed upward. And from that spot, a white face slowly emerged. No eyes, no nose. Just a gaping mouth, torn wide, whispering, "Save us?" Hong stumbled back, her heart about to burst. Crying, laughing, pleading voices echoed all around. The forest came alive with them. In panic, she fell again, and everything went black. When she woke, the sun was already slanting low. She lay beside a massive tree. its roots rising like coiled snakes. The fog was gone, but the forest remained dark and heavy. She sat up and noticed a small cloth pouch near her hand. Inside, a bundle of human hair tied with a red string. Hong shuddered, stuffed it back, and ran. Behind her, the wind moaned like voices crying, "Don't leave us, don't leave." That night, the villagers saw her stumble back into the village, pale as chalk. Eyes hollow. No matter what they asked, she said nothing, only whispered weakly, "In the forest, there are still so many, they were never buried." The headman heard and ordered everyone to stay away from the woods. But that night, the fog rolled in thicker than ever. And from deep within the forest came a wailing sound, long, low, and full of sorrow. Since the day Hong returned, the village had known no peace. Every night, the fog rolled in thick as smoke. People said that fog carried the breath of the dead. The more you breathed it in, the colder your heart became. Families shut their doors early. Men no longer dared to enter the forest. Women avoided the streams. Only the dogs still howled at night, their cries echoing all the way to the forest's edge. An old woman whispered, "I think Hong brought something back with her. Ever since she came out of that forest, the fog's changed color, and every night, I hear voices calling." Someone snapped, "Stop your superstition. If people died there, hearing things is normal." The old woman shook her head. "Normal? I saw it myself. A shadow walking through her yard, circling her well every night." As for Hong, she no longer spoke to anyone. All day, she sat on the porch, staring blankly toward the forest. Sometimes she murmured softly to herself, "Lan, I know now. I won't let them rest in peace." At night, Hong often woke suddenly. Outside, the wind moaned, carrying a faint voice calling her name. "Hong, come here." At first, she thought she was dreaming, but each night, the voice grew clearer. One night, she opened the door. In the middle of the yard stood a figure, hunched and frail, hair hanging long over its face. Her voice trembled. "Grandma, is that you?" The figure didn't move, then slowly lifted its head. A deathly white face, no trace of life. Sunken eyes. A mouth gaping open, dripping black blood. "Save them?" The wind howled, and the oil lamp went out. When the light returned, the yard was empty, except for a trail of muddy footprints ending right at her door. The next morning, the villagers gathered at the communal yard. The headman struck his staff hard on the ground. "No one goes near the forest anymore. Those traffickers are still out there. Hong, don't you dare risk it." Hong looked around, her voice hoarse. "It's not traffickers, it's the spirits. They're trying to tell us something." A murmur spread through the crowd. "She's gone mad. Possessed, more like." Then a young woman spoke timidly. "But last night, I heard a girl calling for her mother by the cattle shed." The voice, it sounded just like Lan. Everyone fell silent. The headman barked, "Enough, don't say her name, you'll bring her back." Hong stood, eyes fixed ahead. "No one's bringing anyone back. They just never left." Then she turned and walked away. By dusk, a group of children were herding buffalo home along the path near the forest. One of them pointed. "Hey, do you hear that?" "Hear what?" "Singing, from in there." A soft lullaby floated through the mist, an old tune, trembling and sweet. One curious boy stepped closer. Before he could call out, the song stopped. The air fell still. Then from the bushes, a pale hand reached out and grabbed his ankle. The children screamed and scattered. When they finally made it home, the boy was burning with fever, muttering over and over, "The people in the forest, they told me to come play." That night, Hong came to visit. She sat by the boy's bed, laid a hand on his forehead. His skin was ice cold, his eyes shut tight. Suddenly, his mouth opened and a voice, old and rasping, came out. "Hong, the forest hasn't slept, the killer is still in the village." The family screamed, his mother fainted. Hong backed away, heart pounding. At the gate, she turned toward the forest. The fog was rising, swallowing the path once more. And from within it came a voice, clearer than ever. Hong, turn back, don't let more blood be spilled. The wind rose, and far away the cowbells echoed like heartbeats in the night. The small village sank into the thick mist. And from that night on, people began to believe the forest wasn't only out there anymore. It had already begun to grow inside each of them. From the night the child fell into that strange fever, the village no longer slept in peace. Rain kept falling for days on end, thin, cold rain like water from a mountain spring, slanting against the rooftops, drumming softly on the bamboo walls. Amid the sound of rain, the villagers heard drums echoing from the forest. No one knew who was beating them. Sometimes distant, sometimes near, the rhythm pulsed like a funeral call. That night, Hong sat by the fire, clutching Lan's scarf. The flames hissed weakly, smoke curled toward the roof. Outside, the drums began again, slow, heavy, mournful. She whispered to herself, "Could it be, they're trying to tell me something?" Then the drumming stopped. Instead, came 3 slow knocks at the door. She stood up, heart pounding, and walked out. The wind rushed in as she opened the door. No one was there. Only a small, tattered drum sat neatly in the yard, made of buffalo hide. Its cords soaked with mud, and a bloody handprint across its surface. Hong brought it inside and wiped it clean. Inside the hollow drum was a soaked scrap of paper. The ink had almost washed away, but she could still make out 2 lines. Moonlit night, dry well, blood will flow again. Her hands trembled as she gripped the note. Dry well, that was the one behind the headman's house. Years ago, they had pulled a headless woman's body from it. The next morning, Hong went to see the headman. He sat on his porch, face grim and tense. "Did anyone beat a drum last night?" she asked quietly. He was silent for a long while, then sighed. "That drum was used long ago, only when someone in the village died. Since I became headman, no one's dared touch it. Then why was it in front of my house?" He didn't answer. His gaze drifted toward the forest, far away and heavy. Maybe the dead have returned to deliver a message. By afternoon, the rain still hadn't stopped. Water ran down the slopes, brown and murky. Children stayed inside, no one dared go out. Hong put on a rain cloak and walked to the old well behind the communal house. The well was full from the rain, its surface still as glass. She leaned over and peered in. Her reflection rippled and turned into another face. Pale, hair dripping wet, eyes white and empty. Hong fell backward, screaming. The drums started again, this time fast. Frantic. "Help us?" The voice came from deep inside the well. The water bubbled, foaming red like blood. She stumbled back, slipping into the mud. Villagers heard her scream and rushed out, only to find her unconscious beside the well, body trembling violently. When she awoke, she was lying inside the shaman's hut. The old man was burning incense, the smoke stung her eyes. "Child," he rasped, "where did you go in the rain?" I went to the well." "That well is not for the living." He reached into his robe and pulled out an old cloth covered in black ink. Drawn on it were 5 bound figures standing before a well. Beneath them, faded words read, "To repay the blood, the forest must sleep." Hong's voice shook. You know what's happening, don't you?" The shaman shook his head, staring into the coals. "It's not me who knows. It's them, and soon, they'll tell you everything." That night, Hong returned home. The rain still fell, steady and cold. The drums began again, closer now, just beyond her yard. She no longer felt afraid. Grabbing her flashlight, she followed the sound. The drumming led her to the forest's edge, then stopped. Among the rain-drenched trees, she saw a torn shirt hanging from a branch. A woman's shirt, frayed at the collar, still smelling faintly of kitchen smoke. In the pocket was an old photograph, Lan, smiling beside several other young women. On the back, 4 shaky words were scrawled. The last one alive. Her hands trembled as she slipped the photo into her pocket and lifted her head. Through the curtain of rain stood a shadow, a woman, hair long and soaked, hiding her face. She didn't move, she just stood there, watching. Then the drumming began again, not from afar, but right behind Hong. She turned. The small drum lay on the ground, beating itself once, thump, then shattered. Wood splinters scattered, revealing a human bone inside. Rain lashed her face, wind cutting her skin. Hong stood frozen at the forest's edge. And from the mist, dozens of figures emerged silently, all women. Clothes torn, skin bruised purple. They didn't speak. They only raised their arms together and pointed toward the village. Then the final drumbeat echoed, heavy and final, like a verdict from the dead. The debt of blood is not yet paid. After that night, the night she saw the figure in the rain, Hong burned with fever for 2 days straight. In her delirium, she dreamed she was surrounded by dozens of pale faces. They didn't speak, they just stared, their eyes cloudy, glistening with tears. One woman leaned close and whispered, "Don't trust them. The one who killed us still lives in the village." By the 3rd evening, Hong finally woke. The headman came to visit, carrying a bowl of hot porridge. He sat down, sighing heavily. The village has been in chaos these days. Cattle dying, people falling sick, the well water's gone foul. Tell me, girl, did you stir up something in that forest? Hong's voice was weak but steady. I didn't stir anything. They were murdered. Elder, someone in this village did something terrible. The headman's eyes flashed. Enough, don't say such nonsense. Hong met his gaze. Then why are you so afraid of the well? Why do you know about the 5 who were tied up? Silence hung thick in the room. The headman stood abruptly and left without another word. That night, Hong heard a faint knocking on the wall. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks. She opened the door. Outside stood Mrs. Tu, the headman's wife, soaked to the bone, wearing a torn raincoat and holding an oil lamp. The flickering light cast deep hollows across her weary, red-rimmed eyes. Hong, I need to tell you something. But you must promise, tell no one. Yes, I promise. Mrs. Tu trembled as she sat down, her voice cracking. 20 years ago, 5 young women disappeared. The village said they were taken by traffickers. But the truth is, someone here was involved. Who? Her face fell. Tears streamed down her cheeks. My husband, the headman. The wind whistled through the cracks in the walls. The oil flame flared violently. Hong froze. Are you sure? She nodded, hands shaking. Back then, we were poor. He and a few others worked with the traffickers, selling women across the border. When some resisted, they were killed. Those 5 girls were the last ones. They tried to flee into the forest but never made it. Later, to cover it up, he ordered the shaman to perform a sacrifice ritual, saying the forest demanded souls, so no one would suspect the truth. My God. Mrs. Tu reached into her coat and pulled out a small silver bracelet, stained with old blood. I kept this in secret. It belonged to a girl named Tu, the first one they took. Hong clutched the bracelet, her chest tightening. What should I do? Keep it, and leave this village. Hong, if he finds out I told you, neither of us will live. Outside, the drums began again, slow, heavy, relentless. Mrs. Tu jumped to her feet. Do you hear it? They're coming. Go. She ran to the door, looked out into the darkness, and vanished into the rain. That night, Hong couldn't sleep. She placed the silver bracelet beside the oil lamp. In the dim light, it glimmered faintly, mist curling up from its surface. Then she heard the whisper inside her mind. Hong, the well, our blood is there. Dig it up. She grabbed her raincoat and rushed outside. The well behind the temple stood silent under the night sky. She leaned over with her flashlight. The water was still, but something moved beneath the surface. She threw a stone in. Bubbles rose. The water turned black. And then, a pale hand emerged, nails long and sharp, gripping the edge of the well. Hong stumbled back, gasping. "Who's there?" A rasping voice answered. "Even the living, no fear?" The hand tightened its grip and pulled upward. A woman's body rose, soaked, hair hanging over her face, skin peeling in strips. "Return our blood, or the forest will take all." At dawn, villagers found Mrs. Tu dead in her kitchen, a red cord wound tightly around her neck. Hong stood among them, eyes red, face pale. The headman wailed, claiming his wife had hanged herself. But Hong saw the marks clearly, not from a rope, but from fingers. She looked at him and whispered. "She told me everything." He froze, eyes cold and dark. "You have no idea what you've just stepped into, Hong." She replied softly. "Oh, I do. I've stepped into the sins of the living." He turned away, walking off into the fog, the air thick with smoke and the faint echo of drums. That night, Hong sat on her porch, the silver bracelet in her hand. She knew, from now on, the forest would never be silent again. And the living were about to pay their debt. From early dawn, the fog blanketed the entire village, thick and suffocating. Even the rooster's crows sounded strangled, as if someone were choking them mid-breath. Hong sat by the fire, holding a cup of cold water, staring blankly into the yard. Since Mrs. Tu's death, no one dared to step outside after sunset. Children whispered that at night, they could hear someone crying by the well, the sound gurgling like a person drowning. Hong knew those weren't the cries of the living. By evening, she took the silver bracelet and went to the well behind the temple. The wind sliced cold against her face. The water below was pitch black, endless. She took a deep breath, tied a rope to a nearby tree, and began to climb down. The stone steps were slick with moss, the stench of decay thick in the air, like bodies long soaked in stagnant water. Halfway down, she stopped and raised her oil lamp. Something glimmered faintly below, metal. She reached out and touched something hard. It was another bracelet, identical to the one she had, and engraved faintly with the name, Tu. "So it's true," she whispered. The water rippled softly below. Then a cold breath brushed against her neck, close. Too close. "Return it, to us?" Hong jerked her head up. No one. Only mist rising slowly from the depths of the well. "What do you want me to do?" she whispered. The answer came like a murmur from inside her skull. "The blood of the betrayer?" A chill ran down her spine. She gripped both bracelets tightly and began climbing up. But when she neared the top, the rope went taut, something was holding it. She looked up and froze. A pale hand was clutching the rope above her. No body. Just a floating, disembodied hand in the air. "Let go." She pulled hard, the rope snapped free, flinging her backward onto the ground. When she looked up again, the hand was gone. Only the faint trickle of water echoed from the well, like a quiet, mocking laugh. That night, Hong didn't return home. She wandered into the forest beside the village, where the old shrine of the forest spirit still stood. The shrine was half collapsed, weeds reaching up to her knees. She lit a stick of incense and knelt. "Please, tell me what I must do to let them rest." The incense flame flickered violently. The faded red cloth on the altar stirred in the draft. Then came the sound of slow footsteps and a hoarse, rasping voice from the shadows. "There is no rest for those whose blood debt remains unpaid." "Who are you?" No reply. Through the smoke, a faint figure of a man appeared, his neck slit open. Blood still oozing down his chest. His eyes locked on Hong, burning with fury. "You carry their bracelets. Then listen well. 5 were murdered, their blood spilled into the well. The forest spirit tried to save them but was cursed by the villagers. Branded as a demon. Now only the blood of the guilty can lift the curse." Then the figure dissolved into the smoke. leaving only the sound of wind moaning through the broken roof. The next morning, Hong returned home. The door stood open, the house was in shambles. On the muddy floor lay a crumpled note, scrawled in shaking handwriting. Asterisk, leave the village before it's too late. She knew who had written it, the headman. He was afraid. But it was already too late. Outside, the wooden gong echoed again, slow, heavy beats. Villagers gathered at the communal yard, whispering that another death had occurred during the night. The village shaman. His neck was twisted completely backward. His mouth gaped open, tongue hanging down to his chest. A child stammered. There was a silver bracelet inside his mouth. Hong stood among them, clutching her bracelets tightly, heart pounding. Then she heard a whisper behind her, low and chilling. Only two left, still oh blood? She spun around. No one was there. Only the wind cutting through the bamboo grove, hissing long and mournful like the dead calling her name. After the shaman's death, an eerie silence fell over the village. Children no longer played in the yards. Adults avoided even mentioning the well. Anyone passing by lowered their heads, refusing to look into the dark water's reflection. Hong shut her door and lit 3 sticks of incense before her grandmother's altar. The smoke coiled upward, thick and gray like mist. On the wall hung her grandmother's old mirror, tilted slightly, its surface cloudy with dust. But tonight, something was different. The glass looked wet, as if someone had just touched it. She reached up and wiped the surface gently, and froze. The reflection staring back wasn't quite hers. The face was paler, the eyes sunken deep, and the corners of the mouth curved into a faint, unnatural smile. "Grandma, is that you?" The image didn't answer. Its lips moved soundlessly. Hong leaned closer. Then, like wind seeping through a crack, a whisper rose. "Not your grandmother, it's her." Hong stumbled back. The room darkened. A strong gust slammed the window open, bang, snuffing out the candle. In the pitch-black silence, footsteps creaked across the floorboards, soft, deliberate, not human. The oil lamp flickered back to life. The mirror no longer reflected her face. Only darkness. A hollow black void, deep as a corpse's empty eye socket. From within that void came a faint, trembling voice. "You shouldn't have touched the silver bracelets. They're soul collars. Those who wear them see what should never be seen." "Who are you?" The whisper returned, thin and cold as fog. "I'm one who died on the same path you're walking." The mirror cracked, lines spreading like veins, then rippled like disturbed water. A bony, pale hand reached out from within, brushing Hong's cheek with an icy stroke. She trembled, pressing her back to the wall. "What do you want from me?" "It's not me who wants anything. It's the forest." The voice sank into her bones, chilling her to the core. Hong lunged forward and threw a red cloth over the mirror. Instantly, the sound stopped. Only the faint hiss of incense remained. She collapsed to the floor, gasping. She understood then, she couldn't stay in the house anymore. Something inside had already been claimed. That night, she hid both silver bracelets in her pocket and made her way to the headman's house. It stood at the far end of the village, dark, silent, no lanterns lit. She knocked. No answer. The wind howled through the roof beams, carrying the rank smell of mud and decay. She pushed the door open. Inside, someone stood with their back to her, tall, thin, hair falling to their shoulders. "Headman, it's me, Hong." The figure didn't move. When it spoke, the voice was strained and trembling. "Go home, stop searching. The well has chosen you. I need to know the truth. Why did 5 people die? Who betrayed them?" The figure turned. It wasn't the headman. It was Mrs. Tu. Her wrinkled face gleamed under the lamplight. Eyes rolled white, mouth stretching into a grin far too wide. "We all died because of the same man. The last one still alive is here in this village." Hong stepped back, heart hammering. Mrs. Two moved closer, her voice cold as mist. He wears the third bracelet. Find him, and the forest will open its path. Outside, the dogs began to howl, one after another. Hong ran out, breath ragged. The oil lamps along the road flickered wildly as the wind whipped through the dirt path. Ahead, at the crossroads, a man stood waiting. The headman. He looked at her, eyes strange, no longer kind, but hollow, fevered. You shouldn't listen to them, Hong. The forest doesn't need you. You're just a replacement. A replacement for who? He gave a dry, broken laugh. For my daughter. She was meant to die in that well, not you. The words struck like lightning. Hong staggered back, tears streaming down her cheeks. So it's true, all those women, they died because of you? The headman's hands clenched, madness flickering in his eyes. No one is innocent. They deserved what they got. And you, the forest chose you because you can see it. He turned and walked away, vanishing into the fog, his warped laughter echoing in the wind. Hong hurried home and tore the red cloth from the mirror. The glass no longer showed her reflection. Instead, it showed a woman with long black hair standing in the forest, holding a silver bracelet in her hand. It's time, Hong. Return the blood to the forest. Hong's body trembled. Her voice cracked, low and broken. If blood must be spilled, then let it be mine, the last one. From the moment morning broke, the sky was strange. The fog never lifted, it clung to the ground like something alive. The trees rustled softly, whispering secrets among themselves. The forest birds were gone. Only a few crows remained, perched on the temple posts, cawing hoarsely, caw, caw, the sound sharp enough to chill the spine. Hong walked down the muddy road that led toward the edge of the forest. Every step sank deep into the wet soil, as though unseen hands were trying to pull her back. Inside her pocket were 2 silver bracelets, and a shard of broken mirror wrapped in red cloth. She remembered the woman's voice from the mirror. Return the blood to the forest. But whose blood? That question had haunted her through the night. The forest ahead looked different now. The wind howled, carrying a sickly, metallic stench. The canopy above was so thick and dark that no sunlight could pass through. The moment she stepped inside, her entire body went cold. Someone called her name, soft, but clear. Hong. She turned, no one there. Only a faint white blur drifting among the trees, like a morning veil in motion. Hong, don't go any further. The voice, she knew it. Lan, her cousin, who vanished years ago. Lan, is that you? The white shape paused, then nodded slowly. Hong ran toward it, but the closer she tried to get, the farther it drifted away. Lan's shadow dissolved into mist, leaving only a sobbing whisper behind. It's too late, sister, it's awake now? Hong froze, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Around her, the fog began to spiral, swirling like a storm. The wind shifted and the sound changed. It wasn't wind anymore. It was laughter. From within the mist, a tall, dark figure emerged. The headman. His clothes were drenched, caked in mud. His eyes were gone, just 2 hollow black pits. You should have left this place, he rasped. You killed them, didn't you? He said nothing. Instead, he pointed toward the old forest well, long buried, now risen again. The water inside churned and bubbled. A deep, gurgling sound rose, like breath being dragged from underground. Their blood fed this forest, he said. Now the forest wants more. Hong gripped the 2 bracelets tight in her fist and screamed. No, no more deaths. The wind shrieked, scattering dry leaves in a violent spiral. Then, a pale hand burst out from the well, seized the headman's leg, and dragged him down. He screamed, a raw, broken sound. No, spare me. His cries were swallowed whole. The well boiled for a moment, then went still. Only 2 silver bracelets floated up to the surface, clinking softly, cling, cling. Hong trembled as she picked them up. She understood, the curse had finally claimed its last debt of blood. The light began to change. The fog thinned. The forest grew calm. Faint white shapes appeared between the trees, the women's spirits, bowing once before dissolving into air. Hong watched them go, tears streaking down her face. "Rest now, all of you," she whispered. She placed the 3 bracelets on a flat stone beside the well, then turned away. But as she stepped out of the forest, the wind shifted again, gentle this time, brushing her shoulder like a ghost's caress. A woman's voice whispered softly behind her. "Thank you, but remember, the forest has no name." Hong looked back. The forest stood silent, only the sound of falling leaves breaking the stillness. She knew then, the forest might sleep, but it would never die. Because somewhere in the wind, still lingered the breath of those who refused to leave. It had been more than 3 months since the night the forest swallowed the headman. The village had slowly begun to come back to life. People planted corn again, reopened the small market, and children laughed and played in the yards. Everyone thought it was over. Everyone except Hong. Every night, she woke in terror, someone calling her name from outside the yard. At first, she thought it was just a dream. But on the 30th night, when the moon hid behind clouds, she saw it clearly, a small figure standing at the end of the path. Hair long and dripping, face turned away. A faint but distinct voice called, "Hong, come here." Her body froze, her heart pounded violently. That voice, it was Lan's. She stepped outside, trembling. The night air was cold. Mist clung to her clothes. The figure stood still, barefoot, her skirt soaked through. As Hong approached, it backed away, leading her toward the forest. "Lan, you're alive, aren't you?" No answer. Only the sound of wet footsteps sliding through the mud. At the forest's edge, the figure stopped and turned around. Its face was ghost white. Its eyes, hollow holes. "Help me, sister?" Hong staggered back, her voice breaking. "No, you're dead?" Lan's figure smiled faintly, then dissolved into mist, leaving behind a damp scent of earth and old blood. Hong returned home, shaking uncontrollably. She sat beside the fire, staring into the dancing flames, fear rising again from the depths of her chest. On the table, the red cloth that wrapped the 3 silver bracelets suddenly unraveled. One bracelet rolled to the floor, clinking softly. She bent down to pick it up, and saw a new crack etched across its surface. "No, that's impossible." From outside, footsteps echoed, slow, heavy, deliberate. She held her breath. The oil lamp flickered. A tall shadow stretched across the wall, broad-shouldered, masculine. "Who's there?" she whispered. No reply. The door creaked open. A gust of freezing wind rushed in. On the wooden floor, a trail of wet footprints stretched from the door all the way to the altar. The incense smoke curled wildly, then a faint image appeared within it. Her grandmother. Pale and translucent, her outline wavering like fog. "Grandma, is that really you?" Her grandmother's voice rasped from afar, weak and broken. "Hong, you must leave this village. The curse isn't over yet. The dead haven't been called by name. But I returned the blood. Grandma, I freed them?" It wasn't blood, it was a name. The forest's name, still unspoken. Hong's eyes widened. The last words of the long-haired woman echoed in her mind. Asterisk, the forest has no name. Could that be why the spirit still lingered? Something deep within her whispered, she needed to go back. She looked out the window. Mist still blanketed the ground, wind hissed through the bamboo. From afar, the trees groaned, like voices crying out in pain. She murmured softly, "If the forest needs a name, then I'll listen for it myself." The next morning, she packed some corn cakes, hung the silver bracelets around her neck, and set off. Villagers tried to stop her. "Don't go, child," No one who enters that forest ever comes back. Hong just smiled faintly. If I don't go, who will hear them speak? They watched as her small figure disappeared into the fog, swallowed whole by the pale white mist. Inside the forest, the wind rose. Branches scraped together, clattering like chains being dragged. She stopped by the old stone near the ancient well, where she had once laid the bracelets. Now only a few damp handprints remained, fresh, glistening, as if someone had just touched the surface. Then the wind changed. A deep, hollow voice rolled through the trees. Hong. My name is. She froze, pressing her ear against the ground. Beneath the forest floor, a woman's sobbing voice echoed, rising from the earth itself. Suddenly, the soil trembled beneath her feet. A thin crack opened, and from it spilled a breath of icy air. Hong looked down. Beneath the dirt, something shimmered, silver, faintly reflective, like a piece of broken mirror. Hong knelt beside the crack in the earth, her trembling hands digging into the damp soil. A cold, metallic smell rose up, mixed with rotting leaves and the faint scent of old ashes. Her fingers brushed against something hard and smooth, like metal. She dug deeper and pulled out a shard of mirror, about the size of her hand. Its surface was caked with dry mud, but at the center, a faint silver glow still shimmered. She whispered to herself, "It's just a mirror shard, why would it be buried this deep?" Using her sleeve, she wiped it clean. As the grime faded, her reflection emerged, but it wasn't her current face. In the glass, she saw herself standing in a burnt-down house, hair hanging loose, eyes hollow, lips moving soundlessly. Don't call my name again." She gasped and hurled the shard to the ground. But it didn't shatter. Instead, it spun slowly and stopped, its reflective side pointing toward the heart of the forest. Hong turned her gaze that way. Deep among the trees, a faint flicker of light danced, like fire in the mist. Then a voice came through the fog, low and raspy. "Hong, come here." "No, I don't want to hear you anymore." The wind howled, bending the trees to one side. The shard trembled, ringing with a sharp, metallic cling. Tiny droplets of blood seeped from its surface, running down into the dirt, forming thin crimson lines. Hong staggered back, but her legs felt nailed to the ground. Every movement was heavy, like wading through mud. She screamed, "Who are you?" The answer came cold and hollow, echoing like from the bottom of a well. "I am the one whose name was stolen." She clutched her head, trying to steady herself. Her breathing quickened, her heart pounded painfully. Images flashed in her mind, villagers from long ago. Flames, screams, a figure tied to a tree. An old woman holding up a mirror shouted, "Asterisk, the forest has taken your name." Then a flash of a blade, and blood sprayed across the ground. "Stop it, I don't want to see anymore," she cried. The visions vanished, leaving only her ragged breathing echoing in the silent forest. Hong bent down and picked up the mirror again. Its glow had dimmed, but when she held it close to her ear, she heard it. A breathing sound, soft and human, coming from inside. "Who are you?" she whispered. "You've already awakened me, Hong." "Why me?" "Because you carry my name." Her entire body went still. "What?" The voice grew heavier, trembling with sorrow and rage. "Years ago, the girl who was killed, her name was Hong. The name you bear isn't yours." She froze, heart hammering so hard it hurt. Her grip on the mirror tightened until the edge sliced her palm. "No, that's not true. I'm Hong, daughter of Madame Lan, from the lower village. Madame Lan only raised you. Your name belongs to the one buried here. Your soul owes me." The wind roared. Leaves spiraled through the air, and the ground beneath her shuddered. The mirror fell and cracked in two. From the split, a dark smoke poured out, twisting, rising, until it shaped itself into a girl. Her face was identical to Hong's, but her eyes were pits of black, with no white left at all. The figure smiled and stepped closer, her voice a whisper of death. "Give me back my name." Hong backed away, shaking, lips trembling. "No, I never stole anything from you. You lived with my name. You spoke, loved, and laughed with my voice, while I rotted in the cold soil." The girl's tone deepened, echoing through the trees. "Tonight, the forest will call the true name. Only one of us gets to exist." Hong stumbled backward until she hit a tree trunk and fell. The broken mirror lay beside her, reflecting two faces, one alive, one dead. In that moment, she heard her grandmother's voice echo inside her mind. "If you ever meet someone who looks like you, don't be afraid. The living one will know who casts the shadow." Hong gritted her teeth, grabbed the mirror, and shouted, "If you're the real Hong, then where's your shadow?" The spirit froze. Moonlight pierced through the canopy, spilling onto the forest floor. Hong's shadow stretched long behind her, but the other girl's feet stood on nothing. No shadow. The dead girl's face contorted, skin tearing, eyes rolling white, mouth opening wide without a sound. Black smoke erupted from her body, dispersing into the air before fading into nothing. Hong collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. The mirror crumbled to silver dust in her hand. The forest fell silent once more. But deep down, she knew it wasn't over. Because as she stood, the silver bracelet around her neck grew hot, burning against her skin. It vibrated softly, whispering words she could barely hear. The true name has yet to be spoken. The forest was utterly still after the wind passed. Only a thin veil of mist crawled along the ground, carrying the scent of damp leaves and dried blood. Hong leaned against a tree trunk, her body covered in mud, her eyes red and tired. The silver bracelet around her neck trembled faintly, giving off a sound, soft and low, like a distant human moan. She whispered, exhausted, "Grandma, what should I do now?" No one answered. Only droplets fell from the treetops, tapping softly on the leaves. She looked up. The mist above was twisting, coiling into shape. From within the haze, a woman's face appeared, long hair covering half of it, half real, half ghostly. "Don't be afraid, Hong." The voice was calm now, warm, deep, no longer harsh or accusing. Hong swallowed hard. "Who are you really? The spirit of the forest?" The woman nodded slowly, hair falling over her face. "I once belonged to this village. My name was erased, buried with my blood and rage. When you called for me, the forest woke up." Hong frowned. Why would it wake up? To remember. To remember those who were forgotten, killed, buried without names. "You carry my name, so the forest chose you. Only you can make it rest again." Hong trembled and sank to the ground. "What do you mean, make it rest?" The woman's gaze met hers, soft, sorrowful. "For the forest to rest, its name must be spoken." Hong stared in disbelief, then gave a faint, weary smile. "Forests don't have names." "They do, but the villagers were too afraid, they forgot. Long ago, this place was called the Forest of Wandering Souls. Anyone who entered and forgot their own name would never find their way out again." The wind moaned through the trees. Branches scraped together, sounding like bones clattering. The woman stepped closer, her expression heavy with sadness. "You've seen them, haven't you? The dead trapped here? They can't leave because they've forgotten who they are." Hong bit her lip. "Then what should I do?" "Go to the heart of the forest, to the tree struck by lightning. Stand there, and call my true name." Hong hesitated. "But I don't even know your name." "You do. You've just forgotten." The words made her blood run cold. She closed her eyes, and suddenly a memory flashed across her mind. Her grandmother, holding her hand as they walked through the woods, whispering softly, "Never forget your name, child. It once belonged to the one who saved us." Hong's eyes snapped open. She clutched the silver bracelet tight. Her voice shook as she said, "Thou, isn't it? Your name is Thou?" The woman froze, her eyes glimmered with light. Yes, thou, I am thou. The moment her name was spoken, the forest roared, a long, aching cry, like pain breaking free after centuries of silence. The wind howled, leaves tore loose in a storm, the earth trembled beneath her feet. Thou's voice rose over the chaos. Go, to the center, don't let the call fade. Hong ran. The forest path stretched endlessly, shrouded in pale mist. The air reeked of mold and decay. Somewhere in the distance, her grandmother's voice whispered, Keep going, child, to the end, don't look back. She stumbled and fell, hands bleeding, but pushed forward. Ahead, through the fog, she saw it, a massive tree split down the middle, blackened by lightning. Strange carvings covered its trunk, eyes, spirals, shapes of people. Hong stood before it, chest heaving. Thou. Her voice echoed through the mist. Again, she shouted, louder. Thou. The ground split open. From the cracks, white smoke burst forth, swirling around her. Faces appeared within it, women, children, the old, all translucent, eyes white and unblinking. They surrounded her silently. She bowed low, tears streaming down her face. Let the forest rest, let them remember their names. The silver bracelet around her neck glowed, then shattered, scattering into dust like tiny stars. Moonlight pierced through the canopy, flooding the clearing in pale light. The smoke faded. The souls dissolved one by one, and the wind softened into a long, weary sigh. From the calm, Thou's voice whispered one last time, tender and clear. Thank you. Now the forest has a name, and the dead have a path home. Hong lifted her head, her voice trembling. What about me? You're still alive, Hong, so keep walking. Thou's form faded into the air, leaving Hong alone, kneeling beside the charred tree. She rose slowly, gazing up at the sky. The moon hung bright above the mountains, casting silver light over the newly quiet forest. A night bird called once, then silence. The forest was no longer haunted, only solemn. Hong murmured, almost to herself. The forest of wandering souls, now it has a name. She turned and walked toward the village. Behind her, the wind whispered softly, as if someone were calling from afar. Hong, remember to keep your name. Dawn was just breaking, the mist still blanketing the mountains in white. Hong stumbled out of the forest's edge, her clothes torn, her arms and legs scraped, her face streaked with mud. She had been walking all night. When the forest finally fell silent, she knew she had to go back. In the distance, her village appeared, rooftops faint through the fog. But strangely, there was no barking of dogs, no roosters crowing, no smoke from the kitchens. Everything was still, frozen, like a photograph caught in time. She stood at the village gate, looking around, and called softly, "Is anyone still here?" No reply. Only a cold wind swept through, carrying a sharp smell, half-burnt wood, half-rotting flesh. She walked down the old row of houses. Every door hung ajar, bamboo shutters creaking with the wind. On the ground, footprints crisscrossed, mixed with long drag marks, as if someone had been pulled away. She whispered, trembling, "My God, what happened here?" At the communal yard, she stopped. In the center stood the incense post, its ashes long cold. Beside it lay a dark line of charred remains, scattered with burnt scraps of cloth. On the temple wall, written crudely in black ash, were the words, "Don't call the name again, asterisk." She stumbled back, heart pounding. Her eyes burned. Taking a deep breath, she murmured, "They still haven't been freed." Suddenly, from a house nearby, came a steady knock, knock, knock. She spun around. "Hello? Who's there?" Silence. Then the knocking came again, slower this time, like someone's hand tapping on wood. Hong gripped the small knife hidden in her pocket and crept inside. The house was dim. Light barely filtered through the cracks. On the table sat a pot of rice gone white with mold. Bowls covered in dust. The sound came from the back room. Is someone in there? She stepped closer, hand shaking, and gently pushed the door open. It creaked, dust swirled in the air. Inside was only an old wooden chest, its lid slightly ajar. The knock, knock, came from within. Hong swallowed hard and slowly lifted the lid. A black cat burst out, fur bristled, eyes glowing like fire. She gasped, stumbling back, her heart nearly stopping. The cat paused at the doorway, turned, meowed once, long and low, then slipped out through the bamboo slats. She sat down hard, half laughing, half panting. I must be scared out of my mind. But before she could stand, a whisper brushed her ear. Hong. She froze. The voice was soft, drawn out, like the wind itself. She turned around. No one was there. Only a dusty portrait hung on the wall. Hong stepped closer, brushed it off gently. It was the face of a woman she didn't recognize, hollow eyes. Lips sealed. Below it, faded words read, Nguyen Thi Thou 1980–2000. Hong trembled. Thou, again, it's thou. Wind slipped through the gaps, shaking the frame. From the ceiling, a string fell, tied to a small piece of cloth. On it, scrawled in dried blood, were the words, Save them, before the forest devours all, asterisk. She clutched the cloth tightly, her pulse racing. In her head, her grandmother's voice echoed. No one escapes the forest while it still stands. Because the forest isn't just trees. My child, it's the hearts of men. Hong collapsed to her knees, tears spilling down her face. She understood, the souls weren't trapped by a curse, but by the sins of the living. Outside, the wind howled again, carrying with it the distant sound of a cowbell, slow, hollow, mournful, like breathing in the fog. Hong stood, staring toward the village gate. Through the thick mist, she saw them, faint human figures. They stood motionless, lined up in rows. Their faces pale, eyes sunken, lips blue. She stepped back, trembling. No, you're not human? The first figure stepped forward, its voice hoarse and cold. Give us back our names. Hong raised the cloth in her hand and shouted. Where are your names? Tell me, and I'll call them all. A harsh, broken laugh came from within the crowd. There are no names left. The living burned them all. The wind roared. Ash from the temple floor lifted into the air, swirling around her like spectral dust. She was surrounded, hundreds of empty faces pressing in. Cries, moans, whispers, all blending into a suffocating chorus. Help us. Don't let us fade. Call our names. Hong screamed through the chaos. Do you remember who you are? Silence. Then, one by one, voices answered, faint, trembling in the wind. I am Men. I am Then. I am How. Each name spoken, one ghost dissolved, drifting upward as a spark of light. Hong wept, repeating their names again and again, until only one figure remained, Thou, the woman with long hair. Thou smiled softly. You've done it, child, but the forest still lacks one name. Hong choked out. Whose name? Thou stepped closer, placing a hand over her heart. Yours. Hong froze. What do you mean? You carried my name for years. Now the forest must return your true one, so I can finally leave. But what's my real name? Only you know it. The name your grandmother called you when you were little. A name only 2 people ever knew. Hong closed her eyes, memories flooded back. Her grandmother's laughter, the sound of wind outside, the smell of wood smoke. Then her voice, soft, far away. My, don't run too far, you'll fall. Hong's eyes flew open. My name is Mai. Thou nodded, smiling gently. Yes, Mai. Now, the forest no longer needs to keep you. Light streamed down from the sky, cutting through the fog. Thou stepped back, her shadow fading into the breeze. The remaining spirits vanished with her, leaving the yard silent, touched only by the faint scent of smoke. Hong, or rather, Mai, stood alone in the courtyard. The morning sun broke through the mountains, spilling its first light across her tear-streaked face. She whispered, softly but firmly, "The forest has its name now. And so do I." Mai stood in the middle of the village courtyard, her hands still trembling, eyes fixed on the forest that had just fallen silent. She knew the forest was at peace, but the village was not. A lone bird chirped somewhere, a weak rooster crowed, and the damp smell of rotting leaves filled the air. She walked through the village, house by house, yard by yard. The traces of abandonment remained everywhere. Dark streaks of mud marked the ground, as if someone had crawled through it. A large handprint was pressed into the doorway, dry, stiff, lifeless. She touched it, the chill bit through her skin. Did they all leave? Or is no one alive anymore? At the far end of the village stood the largest house, the old village chief's home, its door half hanging off the hinges. She pushed it open and stepped onto the creaking, rotten floorboards. Inside, only ashes and faint kitchen smoke remained. On the table were several old photographs, every face belonged to the dead. She picked one up, a woman's face. Gaunt, eyes rolled white. Who is this woman?" she whispered, her voice shaking. A hoarse laugh echoed from behind her. "The living don't want anyone to know." Mai spun around. A tall man stood there, his posture rigid, movements unnatural. Who are you?" He stepped closer, his voice hollow, strange. "I once lived here, but my name was stolen. And now, the living carry all the guilt we left behind." Mai backed away, her heart pounding wildly. What are you saying?" "The villagers killed them. The forest swallowed their bodies. But what remained in the soil is blood and sin. Every name unspoken is a soul still trapped." Mai clutched the photo, tears welling in her eyes. "Then, those who died here, who were they?" "Family, neighbors, all of them. They cannot leave while their names are forgotten. You know this now. You bore thou's name, but your own true name, it must return to you." My real name, is Mai?" She said it aloud, heart hammering in her chest. The man nodded slowly. "Yes, but old blood still stains this land. Mai. You must see them, only then will it end." A gust of wind howled through the house. Ashes swirled violently. The floor began to crack, faint light seeping through the gaps. She looked down, small hands, children's hands, reached up from beneath, clawing, trembling. A raspy chorus cried out. "Mai, save us?" She screamed, her voice breaking. "I've called your names. I won't forget any of you." The cries softened, turning into light, airy laughter. One by one, the pale shapes faded, merging into the dim light. Mai felt a weight lift from her chest, though her heart still ached. But then, the wind began to wail again. From the far corner of the room, a shadow emerged, low-built, broad-shouldered. "Did you think it was over, Mai? The dead have been named, but the living must still pay." Mai's breath caught. What do you mean?" "The living in this village hid their crimes. They murdered their own, buried the bodies beneath the forest floor. If you want the forest to truly rest, you must face them." She stood silent. Sunlight slipped through the cracks in the roof, but her heart felt darker than night. Taking a deep breath, she clenched the piece of cloth she still carried, the one scrawled with the names of the dead. Mai walked slowly through the village, calling out, "Those still alive, come out and face me. You must hear your own names." The air grew heavy, the wind hissed with every word she spoke. A middle-aged man stepped out from the shadows, his face pale, voice trembling. "Why, you mustn't call them? Mustn't call them? Your names have been buried too long, but the forest wants to hear them. Say your names." The man quivered, stammering. My name is Lamb?" The wind stopped. One by one, the remaining villagers emerged, whispering their true names, voices shaking, eyes full of both fear and relief. And when the final name was spoken, the forest fell completely silent. No more wind, no more rustling leaves, only peace, soft as mist dissolving at dawn. Mai exhaled deeply, exhausted, but a calm warmth filled her chest. She understood. The forest was finally at peace. The spirits had found their way home. But the living, they would carry this memory forever. Standing once more in the courtyard, she looked up at the pale morning sky and whispered, "The forest and its people have finally given each other back their names." Mai stepped through the village gate, her feet still muddy, clutching the last piece of cloth that had once bound the souls of the dead. The village looked different now, no corpses, no cries, yet the air remained heavy, burdened with silence. The living stared at her, eyes filled with both awe and fear. An old woman trembled as she called out, "Mai, is that really you?" Mai nodded softly, her voice low. "Yes, I've come back." The old woman stepped closer, resting a frail hand on Mai's shoulder, her eyes glistening. "Child, what have you done?" Mai looked around, took a deep breath, and spoke slowly, each word weighted with meaning. "The forest, it's finally at peace. The names of the dead have been spoken. They've found their way home." The villagers stood in silence, listening. They believed her, they could feel it. The wind no longer howled, the leaves no longer trembled. But the unease in their eyes lingered. The memories of the things buried long ago still clung to them like mist. A young man stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Mai, but what about those who hid the bodies? What happened to them?" Mai let the cloth fall from her hand, her gaze turning solemn. "The forest has already called their names. Anyone who hides their sins will not find peace. But for the forest, and for the lost souls, there is calm now. As for us, we must live with the memory." She walked slowly through the village, each step deliberate. Though sunlight now poured over the rooftops, she could still hear the faint whisper of the forest. "Mai, remember your name? Live, but never forget." She smiled faintly, clutching the shattered silver bracelet in her hand. "I remember. I'll live, and I won't forget anyone." Mai reached her grandmother's old house and sat by the small, fading fire. She rubbed her face, tears blurring her vision. "It's over now. The forest has a name, and mine has returned. But the shadows of it all, they still remain." From deep within the woods, a single bird cried, its voice echoing like a reminder. "A part of the forest will always walk with you." Mai sat still, breathing slowly, feeling both peace and unease intertwine inside her. She knew she had come back, yet some part of the forest, some fragment of its spirit, would forever live within her mind. Down the village path, children laughed as they ran. The adults began repairing rooftops, sweeping courtyards, planting flowers and vegetables anew. But Mai, standing apart, understood. The curse was lifted, but the memory of the forest, the blood, and the names would remain. She whispered, her words carried softly by the morning breeze, to herself, and perhaps to the forest too. "The forest of wandering souls, I know my name now. Rest easy, and I will live, remembering everything." The mist lifted, the sun climbed higher. The village was still the same, yet forever changed. Mai walked onward, stronger now, yet carrying within her the faint, eternal murmurs of the forest, knowing that past and present had finally become one. This marks the end of the story. Thank you for listening until the very end. If you enjoyed this tale, please give us a like and subscribe. Your support means the world to us and helps Bong Toi Trong Dem * continue creating more chilling ghost stories for you to enjoy. If you have any questions or spot any mistakes, please share them in the comments below. Disclaimer. The story in this video is a * work of fiction * created for entertainment purposes. designed to provide a thrilling and eerie listening experience. We do not promote superstition or encourage any dangerous actions mentioned in the story. Any resemblance to real people, places, or events is purely coincidental. Thank you for accompanying *bong toi trong dem. We'll see you again in the next haunting tale.